Hey, what's up everybody? If you found this video, you're probably like me and you're probably looking for you probably punch in Arduino game code, show buzzers for games, how to create it, DIY, I don't know. Or whatever the case may be, I'm here to happily share with you my discoveries in trying to set up a game show buzzer project. I searched the net, YouTube, Googled, and I didn't really find a lot of good videos in terms of how to build game show buzzard code or buzzards with code. Buzzers with code. What am I trying to say? Anyway, so here I'm going to share with you. So I'll just get right into it. I quickly made this game show setup here. This is just a little electronics box that I quickly found and taped up here with 3 different LEDs here with a Piezo buzzer. Not quite sure how you say that, but I'm going to show you this, how I built it real quickly. This is not the finished product, but this is, however, just a temporary prototype. So basically, these LEDs are all designated to 3 different pins on the Arduino, and these buttons are also designated to 3 different pins on the Arduino. And here is the Arduino that I've used. It's the Arduino Nano, and I'll show you in the code what all these pins are designated for, and I'll get right to it. But anyway, buttons are LED light 1, 2, and 3 is on pin 4, 5, and 6 on the Arduino Nano, and the buttons are actually on pin 7, 8, and 9. Now you'll basically hook up all the hot pins or hot wires, or if you want to call it anodes, to the pins on the Arduino. The actual other negative or ground pins will also will all be plugged into the ground pin. Now I made this little bus rail with just little molding plastic and a couple pins that I bought from an electronics store, and I soldered all these together and made it to be one ground rail. So everything ground is being put into this rail, and then the final ground wire is actually going to the ground wire on the Arduino. So that's how everything's kind of hooked up here. It's pretty simple, pretty basic, and I'm going to go ahead and show you on the computer the actual coding for this so that you can kind of set it up the same way I did. Okay guys, so here is the code for the game show buzzards. I'm going to tell you what it's all about, then I'll demonstrate it in action. So I'm not going to try and explain too much about, arrays, but if you know anything about coding, I went ahead and chose to use the arrays because it was a lot shorter and a lot cleaner to do it this way. So everything should be self-explanatory, but anyway, here's the LED pins. I put it in 4, 5, and 6, and I put it in an array here called game LEDs. And obviously, once it loops through continuously, it's going to find for each LED which one is matched up with each game button. Same goes with the game button pins. I put it on the game buttons, on pin 7, 8, and 9. And it's just going to loop through and find each button to see which button's being pressed. The piezo buzzer is on pin 3. Okay, that's the sound that comes out. That is the indicator sound when they press the button. Buzzer delay is 1 millisecond. I think that's a millisecond. That's just, you'll hear it in a moment. I'll demonstrate. And the reset delay means that once they've hit the button, it resets, meaning the other game show contestants cannot press the buttons. Nothing will happen. So whoever's the fastest on the draw will cause the buzzer to delay and allow them to answer. The void setup, you guys probably already know the void setup, but anyway, here's a serial begin. That just kind of like, I'll show you in the serial port my troubleshooting actions that I've made up and created for myself. This is the for loop that kind of loops through all of the LEDs to see which one is being pressed. I'm not going to go into for loops. You can find tons of information on for loops in Arduino coding. Here's the pin mode. This is on an output. All the LEDs, when whoever presses first, it'll illuminate, indicating them know that they are the ones that chimed in first. And the I obviously is an I variable. That's the standard variable that they use in for loops. I just didn't want to change it. I just kept it standard. Same goes with this for loop. This is for the game show buttons. It'll just kind of loop through each game show buttons 7, 8, and 9, which is positions 0, 1, and 2. And they are input pull-ups because the buttons are actually momentary switches. So basically, when you press, it's automatically going to be ground is going to be set to high. So when you press the button, it's going to go low and then go up to high, signaling the 5-volt signal that the button has been pressed. I think that's how it goes. Correct me if I'm wrong, everybody out there. If I did explain that incorrectly, I used input pull-up because it seems to be the way to go when you're using momentary switches like I did. The code, okay. This will always loop through the whole entire code unless you use a for loop stopper. That's what I call it. There's a more technical term for it, but you'll understand when I get to the end. Anyway, this is the for loop. So when it loops through the buttons, it's going to continuously loop until an action is done. An action is required. So then I move down and use an if statement, which is basically if a button is pressed, no matter which one, 1, 2, or 3, in the I variable, it's going to look for that button, and if it goes low, then it's going to illuminate. So whoever's going to press it, it's going to go low, and then that's going to chime in. We move further down. If that happens, whichever button is pressed, the LED that it corresponds with will go high. Moving below that code, this is the tonage that I used for the actual buzzer to chime in. I used 1300 frequency because I thought it was a great sound, a high beep. I used a 50 delay on that. In conjunction with the buzzer delay, which is up here, which is 100 milliseconds, was 150 milliseconds. I think that's milliseconds. I don't know. If it's something different, please correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, it goes through this whole entire code, and then it stops down here on the reset delay for 4.5 seconds, which I think is a little bit under 5 seconds. So whenever they press it, it's whoever won the chime in, it's going to delay for 5 seconds, then automatically reset. And then so it'll go to the next question. If you don't want that to happen and you want a manual reset, let me comment this out. You can actually put this piece of code right here, and this is a for loop that actually stops it in its tracks, and until you actually hit the reset button on the Arduino. So the game master can actually reset the button himself, just so that the contestants, if they're just pushing the button too much, trigger happy, it'll allow the game master to reset it himself. Let me undo this and show you the code. In action, let me just reset this, clear this output. Now, you're going to hear it off screen, but I'm going to show you it in action, but let me go ahead and push 1. So, it's going to go through this code, and it'll pop up here on the screen after 5 seconds, here, 4 and 7. So I pushed number 1. So as you can see that 1 corresponds with 4, and LED 7, which is position 0, which is the first position. And so in coding, you started, it's 0 indexing. I'll do this again, and I'll try and just push them all at the same time and see which one chimes in first. So it was button 3. So 6 and 9 is going to show up on the screen here. So 6 and 9, I push them all at once, and so I guess my thumb was a lot faster than my other fingers. So here it is in action. And since I'm holding the camera with one hand, I'm going to try to use one hand to push them all to see which one chimes in first. Okay, so it was the left one, and as you can see, it's not working until it resets, and then it will reset again. Let's try it again. So it's the middle one this time, and it doesn't work. And I'm going to demonstrate the for loop at the end here. Okay, so this is the for loop here. I'm gonna just go ahead and demonstrate here. Okay, it was obviously my middle finger that was the quickest here. So as you can tell, like, you can't push anything. It's just gonna stay like we've already reached the 5-second mark. And with the for loop, it just stops it dead in its tracks. So the game show host or the game master, what they can do is they can hit the reset button on the Arduino, and it just resets it for the next round. So this will this round, player 3 chimed in so they can answer the question, and nobody else can like keep pushing the buttons until the game master actually resets it. So I hit the reset button and it starts all over again. Now you can actually make a reset button yourself. All you have to do is hook up the ground wire to the ground rail and then hook it up to the actual reset button on the Arduino, which is right there if you can see it. It's the reset button. You can actually make it like this same button here, or whatever button you prefer. You can make it your own reset button. But I'm gonna go back to the code now. So the last one I showed you was basically the for loop right down here. This little piece of code will stop it dead in its tracks. Okay, but if that's not something you prefer, then you can actually just code that out and actually code this back in where it has a reset delay, where the reset delay for me is 4.5 plus everything else about 5 seconds, then it auto resets itself. Okay, so hopefully that made sense to you. But I basically wanted to share this code with you because, again, like me, I was just trying to figure out how to find good game show codes, and as you can see, it's pretty simple code. And also for the buzzer here, you can actually put the buzzer, because I actually plan on making 4 buttons, okay? And with 4 actual individual buzzers on each button box, so that the gamer will know that by light and audio indication that they were the ones that chimed in first. So you can actually put a buzzer in an array as well, which I'm going to designate like 4 pins for Piezo buzzers. For right now, I only had 1 Piezo buzzer, so that's what I'm just working with. But I hope this was all good and fun. I had a lot of fun making this video. I know it's a little bit long-winded, so I'll let you go. Thanks for stopping by. You have a fantastic day. A PS, I forgot to explain the else. So whenever you're using an if statement, you don't have to use the else verbiage, but you can. It's just like basically saying that if all this happens, make it happen till the end here, okay? Make the buzzer sound, the lights illuminate, so on and so forth. Or else, just turn off the lights. So basically, it's going to just cause the lights to go low. No sound, nothing's going to happen until it cycles back through. And if it happens, you push the button, it goes through all of this until it hits either the for loop or the reset button. And it just stops there and just keeps looping, 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 and turns everything off, the LED lights. So anyway, just wanted to throw that in there.